So guys, today's video is all about weed control. As you can see, I'm surrounded by gravel in my vegetable garden, but I also have gravel driveways, gravel walkways. I have a concrete area that has expansion joints and natural cracks in the concrete. This product costs less than 25 cents per cup. Mix it with a couple of other ingredients and water and you will not see weeds for 12 solid months. So the cost is great. It's extremely low toxicity to human beings. It's perfectly safe around your pets and your children, and it's completely natural. It's something we consume every day. So take a look. I'm gonna head over to the potting shed and I'll show you how to put this super simple recipe together. Now this formula I use once, like I said, early summer or late spring, and it's only once a year treatment that I need to do because it knocks out everything for 12 months. What I will say is if you want to do a deep dive into this and get extreme detail, I believe it was a 13-page booklet all about this formula. And as you can see, this is the ingredients here. Not all of them are absolutely necessary, but there's a few ingredients you have to make this work effectively. So take a look at the Patreon. If you're already a paid member there, you can get this for absolutely nothing. Just download it to your device or download or print a hard copy. If you want to buy just a copy without becoming a member of the Patreon, you can do that as well. Just buy it outright. But anyways, it took me a long time to put that together, about 2 or 3 hours to get all the information just right. So this weed killer will work for you every time and you'll save a ton of money. So let's get on to mixing this formula. It's super simple and it's super safe and effective. Now, pool salt is one of the main ingredients in this. This is what makes it work so effectively and it's so cheap. This bag weighs 40 pounds and it was $6 and some change. It is made from sodium chloride. It's completely safe around humans. For weeds, it's very toxic. It's also toxic if you put this on any grass around any ornamental or vegetable plant. So make sure that you don't put this formula anywhere near a plant you don't want to kill. But sodium chloride is our first ingredient and the most important. It's why it lasts so long and it works so effectively. Now, one more thing to remember about using this ingredient is that if you're planning on planting something else later on, this will permanently, or at least for many years, alter the soil around where you're treating this. So remember, if you're planning on planting something later on, the next year after that, make sure you don't use this. So around gravel driveways and walkways, inside of concrete, cracked slabs and expansion joints is perfect because it's somewhere you never want to have plants growing anyway. So just remember, salt is very toxic once it gets into the soil. So just a reminder that you don't want to do this somewhere you're planning on planting something later on. Now this formula I'm doing today is a 1-gallon mix, but if you want to quadruple it, you could just make it a 4-gallon mix. Use a 5-gallon bucket and you can mix it all together there. So I'm just going to put our plain pool salt in our water. And one thing to remember is you want to make sure there's not anything added to this, just standard pool salt. I'll put a list on the screen of here, the things to look for in the ingredient list, but I looked at this label and made sure it was just sodium chloride. So it's just plain salt, pool salt. And we're going to mix that first. Now, if the pool salt you buy is very solid and hard, you can just break it up, put it in there, and just let it dissolve overnight if it's not already in kind of a granular form. But just make sure that it is completely dissolved. And one thing I'll tell you before you do this, if you're using any kind of mechanical sprayer, triple wash the sprayer and make sure that you get all of the salt out of it because it could damage internal parts, metal parts inside of it. If you're using something like one of these plastic sprayers, just give it one quick rinse afterwards. But on something like this, you want to triple wash it to make sure you get any salt that's in the system. Let the water run through it 3 times, maybe 4 times. Make sure there's no salt anywhere in the line or anywhere in the pump. So as long as you do that, you shouldn't have any damage to your very expensive equipment. Now the second most important ingredient here is going to be vinegar. Now our pool salt is going to be the longevity factor in our formula. That's what's going to make it last up to a year because salt is very toxic to plants. But our second ingredient is going to be vinegar, whether we're talking about just standard 5% kitchen vinegar or some of these more industrial type vinegars. You can buy these sometimes at the big box stores like Lowe's or Home Depot. You can order something like this from Amazon. You can see it's 75%, quite a bit stronger than the 5% you're going to get at Walmart. But using the amount we're going to add to the ingredient is going to be 1 gallon of just standard white vinegar, 5%, or 45%, I would just do 1 cup, and then 75%, I do half a cup. So you can see the price is going to increase, but you're going to be using much less. Remember, when you're using any one of these, splash back in the eyes. You want to wear eye protection and a mask when you're mixing because it can be kind of caustic. So just be very careful, especially with these two right here because it can be quite a bit stronger. This is what's going to give it quick knockdown power as opposed to our pool salt, which is going to give the formula a longevity factor that's going to keep anything from growing for that 12-month period. But this is the key to knocking down the plant very quickly as how it reacts with your plant. Now for this recipe, I'm just doing a standard formula of 5% vinegar. I've added our vinegar to our 5-gallon bucket. I've allowed a few hours to pass for our salt to completely dissolve. And I forgot to mention, this water actually works a little bit better if it's on the warm side. So if you're getting it from the tap or you let it sit outside on a sunny day, it doesn't have to be hot, just slightly warm. The salt will dissolve a lot better. So let's add this to our vinegar. And now we've got our 2 main parts to our weed control. And I'm going to show you a few other items we can add to it that will boost us of effectiveness. But just these 2 alone is a powerful formula, and it's completely safe around pets, dogs, cats, things like that, children. You don't have to worry about it versus some industrial, highly toxic herbicide. Now the next ingredient is going to be half a cup of lemon juice, whether it's freshly squeezed lemons, if you have a lemon tree, you're lucky enough to have a lemon tree in your yard, you must live in South Florida, or you can use bottled lemon juice. Now you can also use citric acid because that's the key ingredient inside of this that's going to help this work. Citric acid is going to help a lot with newly emerged and some of the other types of broadleaf weeds. So this will complement our vinegar and the salt. So this is really, and not an absolutely necessary, but it definitely can help boost the formula overall. So half a cup of lemon juice or 2 tablespoons of citric acid. I'll put a link in the description to granulated citric acid that you can use, and that's something you can keep in your potting shed or your area where you keep all of your yard products. It's easy to get to, it can store for a long time, where lemon juice can maybe go sour after a while. So half a cup of the lemon juice or 2 tablespoons of citric powdered acid. Now the next ingredient is our sticking agent, and we want to make sure that we put something in there that allows it to stick to these broadleaf weeds or any weeds you have growing in your yard. You can use any type of dish soap, you could use baby shampoo, or if you want to go the more natural route, a Castile soap is made naturally. So if a lot of people don't like the Dawn or the baby shampoo, they can opt for this. I'll put a link to the description as well. But you need 1 tablespoon per gallon of this to allow it to stick to the weeds as you go around doing your spot treatment or your broad spraying if you're using one of the hose-in sprayers where you're doing a larger area. Now our next ingredient is just normal isopropyl alcohol, and the reason this works really well, it's going to help break away some of the waxy coating on different types of weeds. So just remember that if you're using this, this will help boost it. But one thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you don't go overboard with it. Just a very small amount. We're only talking about 2 tablespoons of alcohol. You can use the 91% or the 70%, it doesn't matter either way, but that will help with some of the little bit harder to kill weeds. Some weeds have a waxy coating on them that kind of protects them from various things, but once you add this, this will break down that wax coating on the outside of the plant. Now I'll add our lemon juice and our other 2 ingredients into our 5-gallon bucket. And I want to talk a little bit about the last ingredient, and there's actually a couple of reasons to use peppermint oil. One, it can also damage the more tender plant leaves, but another thing is, as I go around the garden and I'm kind of looking to see where I've sprayed, if I smell peppermint, I know I've sprayed that area. So this is kind of like an identifier for me. If I know that I'm smelling peppermint, I know I've treated that area. When you have 2 acres and lots of weeds to treat, you want some way of identifying. Now you could use something like a blue dye. I know they do that a lot of times with professional companies. I do have blue dye in the greenhouse, but I don't want to dye all my walking paths and driveway and everything like that a shade of blue. So this peppermint, if I get close to the weeds and I smell it, I'll know that I've sprayed that area. So again, it actually serves 2 purposes. One is going to kill tender weeds and also identifies where I've actually sprayed. If I'm working all day in the garden, I don't have to go back and think, did I spray this area? Now I may have not mentioned this, but I'm not adding a lot. I'm just basically going to add maybe half to 1 teaspoon, and just do a little bit of estimation there. And so that is our ingredient that helps identify that we have treated the area. Everything's going to be thoroughly mixed, and I'll talk a little bit about proper applications, methods, and ways. Now I'm going to put on the screen right here the ideal conditions and times to apply this. Make sure that you do wear a mask and eye protection. That vinegar, depending on which vinegar you use, can be very toxic if it gets into your sinuses or your eyes while you're spraying it. So make sure you're not doing this around pets and children. Once it settles into the ground, it's perfectly safe. It's going to be within an hour. You're no problem with children coming out and playing in the grass. But remember that you're not spraying this on any area where you don't want to kill it. It's a non-selective herbicide, what we're making here. So if you're spraying it anywhere around grass, it's going to kill it. Any plant, any vegetables, anything like that that you don't want to kill, don't spray it close to it. So this for me is just spraying cracks in the sidewalk, my gravel walkways, areas where I have a little bit of a bog situation going and I can't get my lawnmower in there. I'll go in and spray that. Today I'm only doing a spot treatment, so I'm just going to use a small 2-gallon sprayer and probably only fill it halfway, which it may be over a little bit halfway because of the mix there. But anyways, I'm just doing a spot treatment today. But if you're doing a much larger area, you can use something like these Chapin sprayers. You're going to have to calculate based on what it says on the thing. This particular one is a 6-gallon sprayer, and this one right here, I believe, is a 20-gallon sprayer. So you'll need to do that accordingly and mix it properly. Reduce or divide your water down so you get a much more concentrated mix. I'll put the link in the description to these Chapin sprayers because I do like these if I'm doing a very broad area of killing weeds. So guys, once again, I'll tell you about the 13-page booklet I've put together. It's extreme detail, a lot more information than in this video, but the gist of the whole process is in this video. So this is just an optional item. If you're a supporter of the channel, it's greatly appreciated, and I always like providing extra information for anybody that wants it. So take a look at that if you're a member of the Patreon. If you want to buy it and download it directly, you can do that as well. You can save it to your device or print out a hard copy like this right here. So guys, I really appreciate you watching and have a great day.